Good to have you on. Good to have you on. A little bit of technical difficulties over here, but I have just enough technology still available to me to have a decent broadcast. So welcome to a dark, rainy, but also muggy Thursday night in late September. It's September 25th, 2025, and it's been it's crazy because it's been a while since I've been able to look at this guy across the way right now, Jay Gulinello, and say, Jay, it's been a while.
It's been a while since it's been a while?
It's been a while since it's been a while. For a while there, we were seeing each other a couple times a week.
I was about to move in. You put the kibosh on that.
Jeez. And then think about what we've been dealing with in the last just 2 weeks alone.
It's wild.
Yeah.
This is what happens when we don't get together.
I know the
world falls apart.
We are the stabilizing agent, the mortar.
No pressure.
I don't know, man. First of all, we've got 2 hours for Quite Frankly tonight that are going to evaporate.
Yes.
Now, in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, we're going to bring on a guest for about a half hour who I just think is just fascinating. And you want to talk about somebody who has overcome a lot of physical hindrances in life. This guy, Sam Miller, is one of them. He is an Australian American.
Oh.
And he has scoliosis. And it's like an 85%, I don't know, or 85 degree angle of it's a really serious thing going on here. And it's, I want to know more about what, how long this is congenital or whatever the hell is going on there. But without surgery, without anything else, he has figured out a way to unlock his body and to just kind of like break through the restraints of all this balled up muscle that's in the center of his back to just create torsion and realign himself. And he's not only done wonders for himself, and he's tracked his entire journey on his Instagram, but he's also started coaching other people who have these kind of structural issues that otherwise are only recommended braces and surgery. And of course, as he says in all the literature on his website, that like so many other things in the world right now, about 85% of diagnoses are idiopathic.
My favorite word.
They just happened.
Yeah, just poof. Well, this is going to be a great night because I'm always interested, as you know, in learning. So this is not really in my field, but there are some questions that I have from the perspective of what I do that would be interesting to ask him if he's explored, because I'm sure there's probably no better authority on this than him. So I love these opportunities to learn, and I can predict that most people in the audience tonight are going to be frequently adjusting their posture as we go through the evening.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's always the same thing. But that is, I wanted to have him on just because, wow, incredible story.
Yeah.
And I thought that you would in particular would really appreciate what he's doing. And I know everybody at home is going to be fascinated as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But that'll be maybe 30 minutes or so. I just want to talk about what he does. And then, we've got so much else. First of all, there's the Tylenol thing. About 15 minutes or so, the news started getting around about James Comey getting indicted on multiple felonies.
I didn't even see that. You told me just before we went on air.
Yeah, actually, here, take a look at this. This is a Fox News clip was just tweeted out by Benny Johnson, and this is what we're looking at right now. Hold on, let me get this out of the way. Take a listen. Hold on, I have to remember how to do all this. I have to remember how to do all this without my Stream Deck again, because it's just not linked to my OBS all of a sudden, which has to be in some way linked to why my camera was all jacked up last night, which it's still not right, but at least I was able to get the focus back in and work with the ISO to bring down the heat on the screen.
You look great.
Well, thanks. Thanks.
You look great.
But the Twin Towers were blurry last night, and it looked like I was staring at the sun.
Oh, interesting.
All very weird. Because
I noticed on extra innings for sure. It was significantly brighter even after the lights had gone out.
Yeah. Because like I said, when you got in here, this is the reason why I said this. I long for the days where you bought a piece of hardware and you plugged it in, your inputs, you're matching colors to inputs, everything. And every piece of hardware had one function that was unchangeable. Mm-hmm. And now everything is software, firmware, and without anything. You don't have to touch a damn thing, and settings change. They go back to default. Anything that settings you save are just fuck you. That's what the computer says to you now. So anyway,
I heard it too.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Okay, where the hell is she? Here it is.
Welcome back. Breaking right now. Tonight, a major update to a story we brought to you earlier in the hour. A grand jury has just handed down an indictment for former FBI Director James Comey. The Justice Department accuses Comey of lying to Congress while under oath back in 2020. Let's bring in David Spunt with all the breaking details. David, what can you tell us?
Well, Jillian, we are waiting to get the actual details of the indictment. We're just told that an indictment has been handed up against the former FBI Director James Comey. So I don't want to speculate on the actual charges yet until I see the paper in hand. That's the only responsible thing to do. But we know that James Comey, the former FBI Director, has been indicted. We're waiting to see if there's any sort of comment from the Justice Department.
Okay.
Well,
so maybe we will have a comment by the end of the night.
Yeah, it has begun.
So yeah, I don't. And honestly, I just don't even care as long as something's happened. There's something there. There's also other really weird. Do you want to talk about time warp? This came by my my desk today, and I thought that I was like, why are you giving this to me? Thinking that this was from 2020, but apparently Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's daughter, I think she's 19. If she is, I don't know. All these celebrity kids are usually like they switch between.
I didn't even know they had a kid.
I know, and I feel like every celebrity out there has at least one or three transgender kids. So
well, of course,
whenever they're like a 19-year-old daughter, I'm like, is it? I don't. It's like the whole world's upside down. Anyway, what do you know? This 19-year-old daughter of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner was able to get microphone time at the UN General Assembly.
Oh no!
Yes. And you know what she petitioned for? This is why I thought I was in a time warp and somebody was sharing something old with me. She's up there, if it is a she, because you just don't know these days.
True.
Advocating for people to put masks back on.
Get out.
Take a listen to this.
Oh no, that's
what we know about SARS-CoV-2. It is airborne, floating and lingering in the air. One infection can result in disabling damage to almost every cell in the body, from the brain and heart to the nerves and blood vessels.
Oh. She's talking about. She's giving everybody the profile on SARS-CoV-2 that we were getting back in 2020. She wanted everybody to know it's just lingering in the air and it's ready to attack every molecule that makes you. Okay.
Wait. You're sure this is new?
She must have been. I can see this child like living in the same basement as Sloth from the Goonies.
Oh yeah, she's been in captivity. There's no doubt. I saw pictures of her. I can't even remember where, and I thought, oh, this poor thing. Not knowing who she was, because anybody who's still wearing a mask. But again, this is new.
This is new.
Wow.
Take a listen.
Every subsequent infection increases the risk of long COVID and places people who already have it in greater danger. Here's what we don't know, is what it does to reinfect children over and over and over again with no end point in sight from the day they are born.
Oh.
We are about to find out.
Oh boy.
As Dr. Akiko Iwasaki says, at this point, the whole population is the control group. And after only 5 years, long COVID has surpassed asthma as the most common chronic illness in children. 5 years. I am terrified for the children who do not or soon will not know a world without debilitating pain and exhaustion, who cannot trust their bodies to play, explore, and imagine, and who will not know the potential of their own minds unfettered.
She's completely out of breath.
This is projection. This is exactly her life.
I know. She's a terror. And and that's one thing that you say, like, I'm speaking rhetorically when I say I wonder how this girl can get an audience at the UN General Assembly and speak on the record for what is probably a clip that was distributed worldwide to whatever degree, who knows.
Yeah.
But the fact that she is so traumatized and in that trauma disabled in that way, and the parents thought that this was a good idea, it just goes to show how children, young adults, people of all ages, they're props that everything. This is nuts that this person would be let out of the house and put into a high leverage situation like this.
She is a shell of a human.
Yeah.
By the cognitive damage from a COVID-19 infection.
Oh boy.
And I am furious on their behalf. It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you and we didn't do it.
What are you talking about?
We have access to a technology to prevent airborne disease, something that millions of our ancestors and millions of people around the world today would kill for. And
our ancestors would have killed for this face mask that she has on. Listen.
Her father is Batman. Come on.
Our ancestors would have killed to have lived a life like hers.
Truly.
They would have killed. Show them who to thrust the dagger into.
Poor thing.
Refuse to use it. And I shudder to think of where we will be in another 5 years of unmitigated infection and reinfection.
She's been on the verge of tears the entire time she was delivering that.
Wounded animal.
I can't believe that person exists.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, of course it's a celebrity kid.
Of course. The most maladjusted of all of us.
And then just nutty.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Yes, indeed, it was. Let's get this one kicked off, everybody. Sam from the Posture Dojo is going to be with us momentarily, and I just can't wait to introduce you to him. It's going to be a fun night. Take it easy and keep your mask on. Whatever you do, keep your mask on for the good.
Ready to go, Frank.
For the good of humanity. Be right back.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!
So Jay, one of the other things that has changed since you've been here is the intro music. What'd you think about that?
I liked it very much.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Very, very much in keeping with the theme. A nice homage. I like it.
I know. And we just completed a survey. Did you take the survey? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
I gave you all bad grades.
Listen, the one thing I know that I would have gotten a terrible grade on is if the intro music changed drastically.
Oh yeah.
So thankfully, I was already in the middle of doing a workup for something like this, and that just confirmed that I made the right choice because it would have been like over 90%. Some people were like, it was either they're neutral, they can go either way, and like over 75% were like, it's classic, it has to stay. And
some people were ready to abandon you.
Yeah, yeah, they were. I know, but
come on, people.
But 16 people would have been very happy because they said it's too loud and aggressive. 16.
I think she was one of them.
I would have saved it. It was Ben Affleck's daughter.
Yeah, I couldn't remember her name.
Ben Affleck's daughter. I think her name is. I don't want to know what her name is. Skillet.
No.
It's something.
No.
I don't know what it is.
No.
I don't.
Double boiler?
I don't know. Dude, there's so many other things there too. Like I was saying, like I don't even have. You and I haven't even spoken off air about what you thought about Charlie Kirk thing and all that.
Yeah, we were texting the day it happened.
But
wild.
I'm not gonna have. I don't know if we're gonna have time for it tonight.
I know.
But you want to talk about you mentioned the grassy knoll. You want to talk about JFK implications?
Yeah.
You want to talk about it because I really do believe it's on that level.
Something feels weird.
On a dude. There are a lot of things I don't want to even say.
I know.
But there's plenty that I can articulate right now. And maybe we'll find something that we can find some time later on tonight. If not, I have some things I want to write down, and I'm going to be doing a bonus episode tomorrow because we're going to be in the Adirondacks starting next Friday. So I'm going to premiere last week's Saturday night show next Friday so that there's something on. And tomorrow night, I'm going to go live with just mailbag questions and thoughts that I've just been collecting on all this stuff.
Well, remember, we're heading into the time of year where, the Kennedy assassination time of year. This is, it's a weird thing to think, but, November 22nd is not that far away. It's less than 2 months away. So, who knows what we'll know by then, but it might be an interesting thing to draw some comparisons because everybody knows how obsessed I've been with that since high school. And the things that you learn in studying that, it's kind of weird. I even have things off the top of my head that I could tell you that I think I have not heard anybody talk about similarities, and it's kind of frightening.
Yeah. We can talk. Well, so then who knows? Because we're going to spend a little bit of time with Sam Miller, who just showed up right now. We'll bring him on, and then we have a whole second half there. I know that Molly's going to call in around 8:40, so we have her for the last 20 minutes. Okay. But we should have a good amount. Who knows? Who knows what we can do? We're resourceful. I do want to say out there, and of course, welcome to the show to all of our wonderful friends over there on Badlands. Sometimes there are some people out there who only see us on Thursday nights, and I welcome you all aboard. And just wanted to let you know that tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about who wins the electroculture basket.
Ooh.
One of the ones that we took away from the table over at the Jamboree and said, you know what, we're going to give this away on air. It's a practical guide to electroculture. There are shovels, trowels in there. There's some of Jane Barlow's amazing LDM 100, which going into cold and flu season, you got to have around. Matt from Cultivate Elevate, his dragon's blood, his lion's mane, all that stuff is in there, and a lot of copper.
Cool, I see that.
A lot of coiled copper as well. So all you got to do to be in it and win this one is to send a super chat. From either Rumble or on YouTube or quite frankly superchat.com or the Gold Pills, and I'll be collecting all those names again, and tomorrow we give it all away. That's all right. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so here's what we have. A couple of months ago I was on Instagram, and I saw this guy who was really, he seemed like he was having a rough time. I came across a video of a man who clearly had serious curvature in his spine, but he was he was demonstrating the way that he addressed the issue through natural movement and tension, which, even though I couldn't really put my finger on what was happening, because of the way that movement and tension and all that stuff is so important in martial arts, I was recognizing the functionality of what was going on here, and I automatically had questions. But this stuff is insane. Now, Sam Miller is an Australian-American posture specialist and founder of Posture Dojo, posturedojo.com. The link is in the description. He helps people unlock strength, flow, and confidence by teaching fascia-based and psychosomatic methods that transform stiffness and pain into alignment and vitality. Having overcome a severe 85-degree spinal curve himself, Sam now empowers others with unique spines. That's one way of putting it, because it's a challenge, man, to reshape their bodies and live at peace with them. Sam, it's wonderful to have you on. How are you feeling tonight?
Feeling amazing, man. I just had a workout in the backyard. I hung some gymnastic rings up on a tree, so I did a bit of tree climbing, hanging some from some rings. All right. Feeling great.
Well, I'm doing well. I'm Frank, of course. We've spoken on Instagram, but of course, this is Jay, and I wanted you guys to meet as well.
Jay?
Yeah,
Jay is both of you.
He's a clinical nutritionist. So I know that there's a lot of things here that probably tie together in ways that are seen and unseen. So let me get into something here. The first thing is what I saw was your backstory, and I think it's a very nice use of words there. Tell everybody a little bit about what's going on. Is this congenital for you? Because it says right over here, you were diagnosed at age 18, 85-degree structural. Tell us about this, the diagnosis, and whether this has been a lifelong thing.
Yeah, so I was only diagnosed at 18, but it really formed, from 13 to 18. I believe it came from a variety of factors. The psychological, the sitting at the computer, hunched over in the games, escaping the problems going on outside. But I think the primary reason was a near drowning accident where I ended up with a rope around my ankle inside of a flooded river, and the struggle to get out of that, to reach my ankle, to free that rope from it, I believe caused quite a bit of trauma. The current was kind of tearing my other leg apart, tearing my groin, and then as I got out and just ignored the posture and just kind of sucked it up, I think I cemented in quite a very severe curve, which at 18 was then diagnosed as a very severe structural kyphoscoliosis. Structural meaning it's very rigid and quite fused naturally. The bones are separate, but the T10 vertebrae is a wedge-shaped vertebrae. So it's a triangle wedge of a T10 that I have in the middle there. So I'm essentially playing Jenga with a triangle wedge-shaped piece.
Wow.
It's crazy because even with all that, where you can say, I know, at least with great certainty, where this all started, what trauma really caused this cascading effect of all these issues within, you think about a fishing pole and how tension runs all the way up and down the fishing line. When there's any kind of a break or any kind of an imbalance in that line, there's going to be problems there. And still, even though you knew the trauma that caused this imbalance, it was still labeled as idiopathic.
Yeah, so I didn't recognize it or connect those dots at that time.
Okay.
This has been more over the last 3 or 4 years, where as I've gone into my awareness around healing in certain positions, I'm like, this position is very similar to how I was when I was struggling to reach my ankle underwater, and especially around the diaphragm and some of the choking that's kind of happened from that. So yeah, 18, it wasn't there wasn't really a known cause, and the solutions were obviously, hey, it's surgery or bracing was really on the table, and the surgeon that I saw said the pain isn't severe enough to warrant surgery, and so he didn't recommend surgery, which I credit him for doing. But I did walk out of that office thinking that I just had to live with it, as opposed to knowing what I can actually do about it. And that's kind of, that set me on the path of living with it for, 15, 20 years until about 33, when I really started suffering the consequences of a compromised posture, which was that compression in the midsection primarily, which started essentially choking me out from the inside.
Well, and you can tell because, and I'm going to go to this is the video that really, I saw this angle of your work and I said, what the hell did I just see? And this is what I knew. Okay, so here you are. And I want to talk about your creation and your creation of this method and all that, but you can tell that the musculature in the center of your back is knotted up really, really. I mean, there is a lot of muscle inflammation in there, and you can tell that there's probably zero flexibility for anybody who's just kind of accepting that this is the way that you're going to live from the time that you're told this at 18, and then to go until 33 with really not doing anything proactive to address this. I can't imagine what kind of discomfort you were in by 33. How were you living? And then at that point, how were you living? And I want to press play and blow people's minds.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, but at that time, right, the body had built a compensation, this line of force and compensation, which was functional. I was playing sports. I was like decent on the Australian rules pitch, you know, running, tackling, jumping. But it was from this compensated chain of strength, and I had zero hip mobility. So I just thought, well, you know, I just don't have that mobility, and so I ignored it. But that was actually compression that I was staying in there. And yeah, I mean, you've described it pretty well, what the consequences of having compression in your body for that long are. And you know, the psoas group of muscles right next to the digestive system and the lymphatic system, when it got to a point where the compression was so much that when those two systems start shutting down, things look pretty bleak. And I spent 8 months trying to figure it out. What was happening? How do I get out of this? And it was actually reading David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, when I heard he was in a similar situation in hospital. Doctors couldn't figure it out. And he remembered he had the stretching instructor say, you've got steel cables in your hips. You've got thousands of hours of stretching to do. And it was that moment that I realized, oh shit, this could be it. And that unlocked that process for me of finally unchoking myself. And that was about 7 or 8 years ago now. And since then, you know, I've increased my height. I've got flow back, energy back. And when I got out of it, when I was like, okay, I'm on a good track, I made it. I realized I knew that I had to make this a priority. I knew that I had to kind of stick with this and not let complacency, which I believe is the cousin of death for a lot of people.
Oh man!
As soon as you start getting complacent, you know, things can go downhill. So I wanted to make sure I never got complacent. And I found curiosity in finding out what like I've unraveled myself. I've increased my height. Like, how far can I go? How far can I actually correct this? So that began this, you know, 7-8 year journey right now about taking this much more seriously, prioritizing in my life, learning things like the Schroth method, which was developed by a German over 100 years ago. It's now the mainstream medical institution's best approach, best non-invasive, non-surgical approach at the moment are Schroth-trained physios. And there's a breath in the Schroth method called the rotational angular breath, which is essentially pressurizing air inside of your rib cage, targeting the expansion of breath inside of your rib cage in order to derotate that rotation that happens in a scoliotic collapse. So that breath really started to open up my mind about, wow, okay, I can, you know, and I've learned how to kind of release tension from muscles, and then I learned this breath, and then I was doing some functional pattern stuff, some WEC method stuff, getting into rotation, feeling that, and combining with some torque of the hands, I realized that.
Well, let me play. Hold on, because now you're getting, because
the video will show this part.
Oh, absolutely, because there's a lot of things you already said that I had questions about with this, and
sure.
So here it is, everybody. Now I'm going to put the volume up. He's got a microphone dangling from his neck, so you can actually hear the crunch. Well, those of you in podcast land, when you hear the crunching here, that is through the breath and through the tension, everything coming back into alignment through the spine, and of course probably the breaking up of adhesions inside of the muscle itself. But take a look at this.
Oh, there'd be a different video without the text.
Hold on, what's that?
Yeah, there'll be a different video this one has the text on it.
What, this one?
So if you go, head back to the feed.
Yeah.
It's probably this, like a different reel.
All right, which one?
Yeah, the one probably 6 or 7 back.
This one?
It's the same scene. No.
This one.
Down. I think
this one.
I think we're blocked on the right. I think it's on the right side. I can't see it. It's one with the samurai swords in the back without a reaction guy on it.
Hold on, let me get to you. Yeah, well,
it's the cream back. I think it's there on the right. No, that's the one with the
text.
One? It's there, right below the one on the right.
This one
there
right
we
here.
Go. That's the one.
All right,
that's
now.
The one.
All right, so let me get you back on the screen.
So, and just for context, like the curve is 85 degrees in there. That's why there is such an extreme twist. Most of it is the kyphosis, so the hyperkyphosis, the forward neck. with some scoliosis in there.
Okay, so let's take a listen, everybody, because it's the sound that's crazy. More. Now I heard even the jaw right there. I heard even the jaw right there. Now this is crazy. First of all, you know you are probably like a mega celebrity among the ASMR people. That's number one. But I mean this right here. First of all, I know you just started talking about how you started piecing this all together. But yeah. I mean, we can see that this is a manual override of a system that is way off track. I mean, you're commanding muscle to function properly, especially. But in order to do that, there needs to be that connection made between the nerves, the breath work, and the muscle. So can you talk about specifically connecting the mind to the muscle and being able to pull this off?
Yes. And also I think the star of the show is the fascia, which is an important piece to this, because yes, I'm tensing muscle when I begin in the crouched position and I begin in the curve, which is important. I'm not a lot of people, when we have postures that are off, we have this kind of, we try to stand up and we hold that kind of braced like taller posture. That posture is usually made up of compensation. And so in a corrective move like this, I want to start in the curve or exposing the curve and being honest, which is a psychological kind of aspect to it, to really, be real with yourself about where your posture is actually at. Starting from there, slowly raising the feet, starting to feel that tension and contraction in the feet, this wave of tension kind of climb up my legs as I stand up. At the same time, with this counter rotational torque through my arms, which is really important because the grip of the hands and the twist of the wrist and the curling of the arms start generating this counter rotational torque through my arms. Now I'm saying torque and not contraction, and that's why a lot of people are thinking that I'm doing this through muscle contraction. And they think, fascia can't do that, fascia can't contract. And it's true, fascia doesn't contract the same way a muscle does, where you can just flex it super quick. It's actually this, it's a slow structural contraction that fascia can do. But what I'm using here is torque. Now, torque is a torsion, just like a screw, but I'm using a counter screwing kind of force. Fascia is 10 to 50 times X more stronger in a tensile way. So to rupture fascia, we're talking quite a significant amount of force to tear fascia, whereas muscle will rupture quite more easily. So I don't need to flex it. I'm torquing the fascia through, basically like wringing it like a towel. Mm-hmm. So as I'm standing up, I've got this wave of force that because of my unilateral stance, my one-legged forward squat, I'm also generating torque in that position as well. So I'm combining both muscular contraction and fascial torquing from the feet up. I'm doing that from my fingers and wrists and my arms up. And when it arrives in my torso, I'm experiencing these two waves of force are combining, and obviously I have forward and upward momentum. And as I switch, I'm kind of riding that wave through a range that doesn't exist in my compensated posture. And so as I'm going through that movement, I hit this block, I hit this interruption, I hit this, this stiff what I believe is stiff dehydrated fascia, which has formed essentially as a shell because I haven't had movement, especially in that mid-upper thoracic, which has been shut down because of that structural curve I've had. So I reach that point where there's that shell, and then that's where the alignment starts, because instead of just going around it, I pressurize my breath internally. At the same time, I'm talking through the mid to upper part of my torso, and that's when I'm allowing alignment to happen. I'm not completely rigid in the parts that I want alignment. There is this allowance of, I'm going to change my structure here. So there's a letting go in this.
It's the
I'm not just tensed everywhere and squeezing myself, right? I'm isolating that torque and forcing that torque up through the middle upper thoracic.
And what is
and
it?
That's when I'll get the alignments.
Yeah, I mean, and Jay, jump in anytime.
Sure.
But describe the sensations you experience when that middle part of your spine essentially crunches back into alignment. Is it incredible? Because I think like I said, I even hear your neck, your jaw crack too. You talk about this chain of tension that you're creating here from your root. Is this all? I need to know all about it, and especially how long does it last? I'm sure that you get that a lot too, because this is probably just a way of life now. I can't imagine that this is ever going to correct itself in permanence, but talk about the sensations first.
Yeah, so I would say it's similar to a chiropractic adjustment. Those are usually quite quick and forceful. This one appears to be and it feels like it is it's a few at a time. It's also in an area which chiropractors haven't been able to get into. How do I say this? I think chiropractic work is okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I like it in certain situations. Sometimes there's an extra kind of help or assistance that's nice there. And they describe their work as they're removing interference of the electrical connectivity of the nervous system in the body. And as I learn more about the piezoelectric properties of fascia and how that's part of our kind of electromagnetic being, I do think there's an electrical element to this. I think that there is a reconnection that's happening. I feel very deep structural change happening, which is very intense. I'm also quite to generate that torque and that torquing contraction, those multiple waves of torquing contraction, there's a lot going on in terms of my output. So that's quite, a big part of the experience, because afterwards you'll feel quite exhausted. So the actual release and alignment feels fucking amazing.
I can imagine. I can imagine, bro.
Because I feel like my body is seeking energy efficiency, energy optimization, and there's an interference there, and there's a restriction there, and just getting through that feels like breaking through a shell which has been holding a part of me very stiff for a very long time. And so then it goes on to, I have more mobility and movement in there, but if I do this too much, I've noticed I get floppier. I feel a little bit floppier. And so what I believe is happening there is that I'm releasing adhesions, I'm releasing some synovial joint fluid in there when, the lubrication of the joints and the ribs and the spine. But if I do it too much, just like you wouldn't go to a chiropractor every day and not really change anything else, I think you're going to end up more floppier and more collapsed instead of, structured. And so I combine it a lot. Right now I'm doing it once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And that's when, I'll make sure to mic myself up for those ASMR fans and and get it on camera. But I wouldn't, I'm not doing this every day. I think it's part of more of kind of like an unraveling and aligning method, which would fit into kind of my height maximus protocol, which is the one where I really think everything falls into the buckets of unraveling, aligning, and fortifying. So that's my overall protocol for someone who really wants to create a long-lasting change in their posture. But this move in particular is more of an unraveling and aligning. But you still need other work where you're learning to activate I would say, more foundational postural muscles to actually integrate the change and alignment that you can now have access to through something like this.
Yeah, you see, and that's why when I was looking at this, I think about everything I've learned about. We all did the scoliosis tests in school back in school. Everybody went to the nurse's office like once a year, and they just, whatever, made sure you were lined up and all that stuff and whatever. And then I've had friends who were in the braces, and I've known people who have done the surgeries. But like, again, you go back to the beginning. What's the cause? What was the trauma point? Or was this congenital, or is there something else? The whole point here is that if the muscle tension is not being addressed, because that's exactly what you're dealing with here with the fascia and everything else, is it's your body naturally trying to compensate and trying to stabilize you, because there is an instability there. It needs some structural support there, and it's doing the best it can, and it's actually over time it's creating more pressure and actually more pain than anything else. But if that's not addressed, then what the hell's the point of having surgery? Because the tension points are still going to be there, tugging against the fused bones. Wouldn't that still be the case? You wouldn't actually really be you wouldn't be getting to the core of it, right?
Yeah. So 80% of scoliosis is considered idiopathic. And idiopathic means we don't know origin. So 80% of scoliosis, we don't know where it's coming from. Then we have this understanding of tensegrity, biotensegrity. It's a new word. Every medical professional should have this understanding right now. I don't believe they do. I believe they are moving in that direction. But this is causing a huge rift between people who get this and don't get this. Tensegrity is the relationship of compression and tension in your body. And the classical biomechanics view of the body was we are muscles and bones, and the muscles act like levers, more like a crane system. Tensegrity is like a sailboat, right? We have the bones that act as the mast. They're the compression, right? Through compression, they have strength. The ropes and the mast, the actual fabric, the canvas, is the muscle and the fascia and the ligaments and the tendons, and they create tension. So that relationship of compression and tension create the structural integrity of a ship. And in our bodies, the bones are the compression struts, the mast, and the myofascial ligaments, the myofascial webbing, which is encases the entire body, is the tensional part of that relationship. So our bones are struts that are floating in our myofascial canvas, which is just a huge, it's so different way of looking at the body and how you look at posture and how you address a sprained ankle, which might be sending ripples of imbalances throughout the entire system. So it's this huge change. Like I look at it the same way that AI is changing business. The tensegrity and the consequences of what we're discovering around fascia right now in the emerging research over the past 10 years is changing how we look at the human body. It's at that fundamental level of how everything is done. And so it's exciting times because the evidence is showing things like tensile strength of fascia, which is incredible in its communicative factors and how it can construct and deconstruct based on the vectors of tension and force that you apply to your body, right? These things are being discovered individually, but the ramifications of this, of how we approach scoliosis and kyphosis, but also just how we approach training and performance and everything is it's got to be rewritten. And their math about force and vectors based on leverage and classical biomechanics kind of need to change. So there's some old school thinking that is being threatened right now because of this stuff.
That's always the way. So Sam,
it's always the way.
It's so interesting to hear you talk like this because I had an anatomy and physiology professor my first semester at grad school who was a chiropractor and also a naturopath, and he was obsessed with fascia. It was really the first time I heard anybody, and he wasn't really allowed to put that in our curriculum. We were just studying the hardcore old school hard science of anatomy and physiology like you were explaining, but I can see why that, he was trying to impart that knowledge on us. And so it's really interesting now and strange for me to hear this conversation now be 6 years later. So that's just kind of one aside, but I have like a two-part question, right? Would it be accurate to say that what you're doing in this sort of, as you're explaining it as torsion, would you say that you are returning blood flow in a way, nutrient repletion to fascia that maybe have, through structural abnormalities, have been cut off from that blood flow and nutrient delivery over a certain period of time, helping to exacerbate the situation? Is that the way you would, is that a fair way to describe what you're doing?
Yeah. So, nutrient delivery for sure, lymphatic system, which is woven, our veins and our lymphatic system are woven throughout fascia.
Right.
So if you've got a chunk of your body that doesn't have movement and flow and it's getting stiff, you're gonna be limited in that area. The liquid and flow that I'm most interested in is the hyaluronic acid, which is the honey-like viscoelastic material, which when fascia is healthy, enables it to glide really nicely.
Right.
So that we have different fascial layers, closer to the skin, deeper down, between every organ. We have a lot of fascia on fascia action in the body, and it's that hyaluronic acid, which is a honey-like gel, which creates smooth glide. And so what happens when we apply, maybe pressure with a medicine ball, and we're doing myofascial release, even, physical manual therapy, or even literally just thinking about it, honing your intention and your attention into your body is shown to actually create a bioelectric charge in that area and change the viscosity of the hyaluronic acid, which is freaking wild if you think about that.
It is.
That's Avengers level superpower shit.
No, it is.
And so when you combine pressure, movement, glide, like shearing, different inputs to that area, the stiff dehydrated part is it's basically like a sponge, like squeezing a dry sponge. You can actually rehydrate the sponge with the liquid in the surrounding area.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is why movement is truly medicine. And but see, the thing is, the audience can take this and apply it to just even people that aren't struggling with what you're struggling with, right? I mean, this movement from an early age as we're children, the longer it continues. I mean, we were always trained when it comes to things like osteoarthritis. One of the first line therapies is movement. It's incredibly powerful on a lot of different levels. People have the misconception that movement and exercise in general is just about, either cardiovascular health or building muscle, but it is far more than that, as we're beginning to understand.
Yeah. I think at the end of most of my conversations with experts around this, we end up at the same place, and it's like we're just going to end up, dancing around the fire, having a good time and laughing and enjoying life.
Right.
That's where all this ends up.
Well, let me ask you about the experts real quick, because obviously there are people who are very forward thinking, and they have to know, if they're being honest with themselves, that we're not, just because the year is 2025 and we are dealing with medical industries that are just oozing with money that is being wasted, we're not really getting that much of a better understanding of the human body. There's still so much mystery out there, and there's a lot of people in that pursuit that actually are really, there is no pursuit. There's no real pursuit. Everybody just likes believing that they have it all figured out, and we're obviously not getting better. Collectively as a society, health wise, a number of issues going on, but especially our ability to physically function. And I was looking into some of your comment sections, and the reason why part of the title for tonight's broadcast was the fascia police is because I see people, you get it often, people who are, they seem personally offended. Here's one person said, people, if you have scoliosis, go to a good physio. This guy doesn't know a thing about scoliosis or fascia. His takes are based on beliefs, not evidence. And then they go on an extra mile to say, hey, Sam, I'm reporting every single video you mention fascia for false information. Do better, man. Why are people so protective about
This is a big conversation.
Seriously, I don't from the outside, I'm like, whoa, fascia. Like what the... So tell me about this. Like what forces are you up against? What's at stake?
This is real. This is real fascism, right?
This is fascism. Fascism.
Whether we go to the psychology, but there is a certain riff happening right now in the fitness industry. And so there's a guy called Nodi Aguilar who does functional patterns, and he's pioneered a lot of movements with this same perspective. And I value his perspective, but his marketing is essentially controversy marketing. He'll pick out a deadlift or a back squat and say, this is not great for the human body. Obviously what we do is the best way, and I'm the only one thinking about it, and blah, blah, blah. And so he's got this type of position which creates, he's made a lot of physios angry, a lot of strength and conditioning guys quite angry, because they have a belief about how to build strength and performance and athleticism. He's much more geared towards rehabilitation, which obviously for me has been more interesting and more important, and I've paid attention to a lot about what he's saying. So they can just eternally argue against each other and like how fascia isn't important, fascia is in everything, that every exercise you do. So fascia training, you're just kind of waving about with cables and you're not building real power, real size, real mass. And that's not the goal for everyone. Some people just don't want to live in pain, and some people want to build their posture. So I do notice that a lot of people who come to the comments with stuff like that, they've already argued with him and they think I'm kind of the same thing. That I'm saying the same thing. And it's quite a big elephant in the room, which I'm just letting my results kind of speak for now. I'm not really getting really forceful with the message I have yet, although as I refine it, I will. And I do think, we do need like a reasonable mediating voice in the room right now between these two very different kind of camps of thought. And the physios and the strength and conditioning coaches probably haven't looked at what tensegrity means and what the ramifications are of that for the human body.
Yeah.
They never do. I mean, this is sort of in this field we're talking about it, but we struggle with this in every other field as well, where you've got an entrenched orthodoxy, and to supplant that is a lot of work. But I mean, that's how progress. I mean, progress starts with curiosity. And what I find is that people, as you said, I'm sure they haven't even looked into this. No, I guarantee you they haven't. Because your model threatens their business model. Again, should be a search for the truth, a genuine search for the truth. And as you also stated, people have different goals in life, but we don't even accept that nuance. It's just right and wrong, black and white thinking, polarized society. We do this in everything. So it's really not a surprise, but it's just another example of how the search for truth has gotten lost in the pursuit of being right,
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and I'm surprised. Well, I know that he was talking about the lymphatic system and also the gut and everything else like that. I know I was thinking about this here too, because as I said with my wife, with Lauren, but I'm telling you, Sam, with my wife, she's had a lot of stomach issues over the last 13 years. And even though we're looking into a lot more of a broad spectrum, I mean, Jay's been taking care of her now for about her case for about a year or so now. And it's incredible what happens when you broaden the scope and you assess the entire person and not just one thing, which of course her issues with her stomach was ironically categorized as idiopathic. But I still to this day believe that a physical trauma she had falling on a flight of steps in 2008 contributed at least to this, because right in the center of her back where the impact was, there is still, it is like hard as a rock, these two bands of muscle that you can tell are just remnants of a body that was trying like hell to stabilize a severe injury that needed to be stabilized. And when I think about that, the proximity to the vagus nerve and everything else, I don't know how, like when somebody tells me, oh, well, you pull your left bottom wisdom tooth to be able to regulate something in your spleen. I'm like, you know what? I believe it to a degree. Everything seems like a string is tied from one thing to the other. So I was thinking about what your digestion was like, and you said it before we can even get to it. That's
And I was going to ask that same question because you described lymphatic and digestive system. I was going to ask you what symptoms were you struggling with, because you were noticing that even before, or that was the impetus to really start to dig into this. So I would love to hear more about any, whether immune, because that's, obviously the lymph for the audience, that's where immune cells are trafficked. Digestion, obviously we know all about that. You're talking about potentially compromising nutrient absorption. So I would love to hear you riff on that, Sam.
Yeah, I had all of the symptoms, all of them.
Got them.
All of them.
All of them.
The inflated lower stomach, right? And so that's when I first went to the system again after, living with it. I'm like, hey, I've got this inflamed gut. I'm just off. I don't have any energy. I have constipation. I have bloating. I have acid reflux. I'm chronically fatigued. I can't build energy. I'm pale. I don't have any color. I feel like my life force is being choked out of me. And they're like, well, it's probably IBS. Here's some antibiotics. This is a 15-minute appointment. What else are they going to do, right? And I got the trace, I drank the trace minerals and got scans, and I went, I eventually got sent to a physio, and I was doing bird dogs, and I'm just like, it just wasn't hitting. I wasn't unchoking deep enough. So what were the issues going on there? Yeah, it's just this deep compression. The response, that rehabilitation after an injury is really important. And there's that physical response that the body goes through, but also that nervous system response. And to me, that's where we need to be looking. That's where we need to really go back and look at all of these injuries and look at what was that like. Let's recreate the situation. And some people are starting to look at this with like PTSD, right? Creating VR simulations of going back to the place, to the situation, and reliving the experience, but this time regulating your nervous system. For me, I think that's where we need to be looking if we want to get closer to the pathic origins of these situations. And really paying attention to how the nervous system is responding, how it did respond, and how we can better respond, and how we can regulate it through a more accepting response. Because I think resistance, and for me it was that resistance of struggling to try to get there, not rehabilitating, and it's the compensations, the tissue that is built to enforce those compensations. That's where we need to be looking, because nowadays I do look at posture as a reflex. It's a reflex of the situation that we're living through. That's why we have so much sensory input coming from the feet and the ankles, because however we change our weight and distribution, there's so much information that's being rippled up through the system. So how can we start listening to what's happening? How can we start listening to those sensations which are there? For me, that's a big part of going deeper into what's happening, and the search for truth, which you both mentioned earlier. It's about listening to the sensations that are happening in your body. I know when I was kind of on the computer and ignoring the problems and just going into my forward neck kyphosis, and just I felt something was happening, and I think back and I realized like that was my body sending messages. It was saying there's work to be done, but I'm like, no, I just want to play. I want to ignore the work. I want to, just suck it up. I'll be fine. It was that my body was like, okay, this is the strategy. This is the position. Let's build out cables so that you could just stay in this position then
forever.
Yeah. And so the fibroblasts go to work and they lay down collagen cables.
Yeah.
The glimmering hope in this story for people is that, all the cells in our bodies are replenished, right? The bones are some of the slowest. That might take you, 7 years, 5 years. But connective tissue, every cell is replenished based on the situation that it's facing in months to, weeks to months. So 1 to 6 months, most of the connective tissue, ligaments, tendons, fascia is being replenished. And so the way it's being replenished is based on how you are managing tension and compression in your body. Are you floating? Are you compressed? Do you need, is your head going forward and creating the need for a whole bunch of collagen cables to create scaffolding on your upper thoracic, like it was for me? As you change the way that you're relating to gravity, your body will respond. It's continually disintegrating and reintegrating new collagen, new myofascial support, the way you train as well, obviously. So muscle and fascia, for me, there's an optimistic story here because you can remodel it. And I think the skeletons listen.
Yes, I believe so. And this is not only a very gripping personal story that people are just very, very fascinated by on the internet for a number of reasons. Just because it's like, wow, the body can do that, especially when it's been written off, and then forget about the ASMR aspects of the whole thing. It's crazy to see the intelligence, the intelligent systems that are built into the body. Because, like I said, that's communication. You're talking about communication between different categories of tissue, plus the mental aspect. I mean, that is it's a crazy coordination between mind and body, and to see it just come together to collaborate in such a regenerative way is fascinating. And now it is part of your work. It is posturedojo.com. Here, please tell everybody where they can find your work, the books, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I'll lead into it though with this book I just read, The Body Electric, by Dr. Robert Becker, an orthopedic surgeon who was working in the 70s and 80s, and he cut off the limbs of salamanders, and he measured the regeneration. The salamanders regrow their limbs, and that's bone, connective tissue, fascia, skin. It's regrowing the entire limb. And he started digging into why, and it was amazing watching his scientific kind of method go to work to figure out like where's this intelligence, where's this blueprint for the construction of this limb coming from. And they figured out it wasn't necessarily in the DNA. The DNA had the materials, like it had the kind of individual pieces, but it didn't have the blueprint to say, okay, build in this direction, lay the foundations this way. And so he dove into where this blueprint is coming from, and his intuition took him into the electromagnetic field that was being created by the body. And so when you talk about intelligence and I talk about, what am I tapping into? What am I listening to? I'm listening to my systems and intelligence of, I think, seeking energy efficiency. I think it's seeking a more optimal way to function. And I believe intuition is that. And I don't know, I haven't heard people say this, and this is what I'm exploring in my feed and inside of posturedojo.com, which is a community. It's a free community. I share my Height Maximus protocol, which is unlocked through an engagement reward system as well, or it is paid access as well. But that's where I'm having a conversation about this, as we've found the comment section on Instagram isn't always the best for conversation. It's good for some debate, but to go deeper into this and really develop some methodology around these techniques, I'm doing everything inside of posturedojo.com. And I'm exploring what can be done. And I think the biggest my role here is inspiring and empowering, and there's a lot of other talented practitioners and coaches out there who can help refine this into more metaphysical methodologies. But I'm just experimenting and exploring and learning. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to talk about it with people who get it, who clearly listen and pay attention really well, because you guys are really kind of honing in on what's going on.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that.
You know, we come from two different. Well, Jay has a lot more of a complete approach to this from the nutritional standpoint, the biochemical standpoint, also movement. But I come from the movement end of things as a longtime personal trainer and still very active. So I can see what's happening. There's so much nuance to movement, like you said, the difference between that kind of tension and that power that you're generating, compression versus torque. There's a lot there, and sometimes the nuance between being able to understand those to be able to perform it, that's different. But you can tell that there are different aspects in a movement that are playing out other than just the mechanics that is needed to deadlift 300 pounds. And it's very, very obvious here. I'm happy that we finally got you on air, because you have a wonderful story, and I hope people follow you. And thanks for everything. Sam Miller, that is posturedojo.com. The link is in the description. Follow him on Instagram, and hopefully we can have you back one day.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care. There goes Sam Miller. All right. Well,
that was fun.
I told you it would be.
Yeah.
I told you.
I had a teacher that used to always say, the body is just responding to some physical, chemical, or emotional stress. And there's a lot of truth to that. And you know, the electrochemical portion of this is also a reality. I mean, you guys hear me talk about mitochondria all the time, and we're going to get into that a little bit in a little bit. And there's truth behind that too. So, you know, sometimes people can hear things for the first time and they think, oh, that sounds a little weird, right? Because it's not what I think or what I think or what I've been told, or, you know, in terms of how the human body works. But truth is, as you said, we're just starting to uncover some of this stuff. So having an open mind to a lot of these concepts, that's one of the keys to all of this. You know, when I went into grad school, I thought I knew a lot. And I did, compared to maybe somebody who's never studied it. But then just cracking open that first semester of biochemistry and anatomy and physiology, I was like, wow, you don't even know. It's a true saying, you don't even know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to hear people talk like that, because I think that's what is needed to push all of the health sciences fields forward.
You know, I just can't believe, I don't know why it's a shock to me still, but I still can't believe how many gates there are that need to be kept. I mean,
there's a gate everywhere, man.
There's a fascia gatekeeper. Okay, somebody who how dare you? You don't know anything. You don't know shit about fascia,
Frank.
I'm reporting you to Instagram. You don't know shit about fascia.
Where there is a problem, there is an industry built around profiting off that problem. And if you come in with an alternative point of view, you will be met with the most severe form of resistance. I agree with you. It shouldn't shock us. It does in a way, but then if you really think about it, you're like, I get it. It just makes sense. Of course, this is the way it is. It's sad. It's pathetic, but it's the way people are.
Well, listen, I don't want to take a break, but it's a Badlands night tonight. So
okay,
let's take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back. It's going to be your calls. It's going to be all the, now we're going into the like crazy extras. We have Tylenol. We have whatever the hell we can fit in before 8:40 when Molly from Keto Brainz shows up, which her contributions are always awesome too. But people have been emailing me about peptides and especially this episode that just went down on Joe Rogan that was all about peptides and how.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I have a clip from it. I wanted to bring it up, but you know we're kicking it around tonight. So the Tylenol and your super chats and maybe some calls when we come back. Don't go anywhere, and thank you so much to Badlands for all the support over the last couple of months that we've been on there. It's been wonderful hanging out with you. And away we go.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98. only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Okay, that wasn't 2 minutes. That was only 1 minute. I was kidding. Alrighty, here we go. So let's get into the super chats real quick. I just want to see what's coming in. And just remember, everybody, I'm going to be adding all of these names to see who's going to win the Electra Culture Basket tomorrow.
Ooh.
That's it. No, it's going to be good. You guys are going to be growing mutant tomatoes. This time next year, the tomatoes as big of a house as a house. It's gonna be like James and the Giant Peach.
And then you can P.O. box them to Frank.
Hey, have you ever seen Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think it's from like the 70s. I remember.
Oh,
you don't remember
sounds good. No,
it is absurd.
Yeah, I love those. I love. Is it a horror movie? Must be, right?
It's like a cult B funny bullshit movie.
Oh.
And it's funny because Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is like literally all these like big red tomatoes just rolling through town. And like, but if I don't know if you remember this, but in the 90s, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes made a comeback. And there was like there was these toys, these like rubber toys that we all got. I think it had a television cartoon.
I must have missed
series.
it. I must have missed it.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It is.
I'm a big fan of I think I don't remember where we talked about this. I can't remember where it was. It might even have been in like at a party in this room with your cousin. I can't remember what it was, but I talked about how I used to love to pick those old cheap, cheesy B movies like Alien Factor. That was one of my favorite ones. So bad that it was good. Don't Look in the Basement. That's another great one. Maybe we'll have to do an after hours one time where we talk about our top, cheap B horror movies because they're so bad, they're hysterical.
I'm gonna. You should come by for a Saturday night special with me and Sherry and Dave, especially on October 25th. I don't know what I'm doing for the 11th. Maybe they'll be by for both. Who knows?
Dave knows Alien Factor, and we bonded over that because I thought no one in the world
Dave
knew that.
Dave probably knows all of it.
It was really
no doubt.
I said it and I was like, nobody knows that movie. He's like, no, I know that movie, and that was my bass player in my band is his favorite movie, and we used to watch it all the time. It was terrible, but it was so good.
Let's see, Disney. Hold on. There's people in the chat room who have definitely seen it. They're
Alien
all
Factor?
No.
Oh.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Somebody on the D Live, John Rogers, says I have the DVD.
Oh,
hold on. See, these are the little things that take up time.
Before you know it, it's 11 o'clock.
Hold on a second.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't ring a bell, and I'm pretty good with that stuff.
Hold on, wait. I've never seen this before. Is this a trailer? Is this the official?
Oh no.
Is this the official trailer? Let's see. First of all, let me put Jay over here. Here, let's see.
Great nation, almost everyone has been affected in one way or another by this terrible tomato onslaught. Mrs. Williams, I understand your husband is missing.
Yes,
Do you think he's dead?
Well,
Will you miss him? Will you marry again? He's laying in a ditch somewhere, with both his legs broken, calling your name. You will have to find another man, you know. You're no spring chicken.
Lives are shattered. The nation is in chaos. Death and destruction sweeps the country. Foursquare Productions presents perhaps the funniest film ever made. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. You've never seen a film like it. This is the incredible story of the world's ultimate disaster. Vicious man-eating tomatoes grow to monstrous proportions. Faced with this unprecedented menace, the president calls upon Mason Dixon, special agent. Aided by his trusty sidekick, Dixon begins to unravel the terrifying mystery of the deadly tomatoes. Dixon is getting close. Too close for someone.
That looks like Milei, the president of Argentina.
That's good.
Who could it be? The girl reporter? The ad executive? The press secretary? Or does it go higher? Join Mason Dixon in a race against time as he battles to save the world from the threat of nature's perfect eating machine, the killer tomato.
Ain't no time to make a fuss. We gotta get those
Wow.
I'm telling you.
This must have been so fun to film.
Yeah.
I mean,
My mother showed this to me when I was like 7.
This doesn't even ring a bell. I don't know how I missed this because I was really keyed in on a lot of this stuff. I mean, this is not the 90s version, obviously, right? This is the original.
Killer Tomatoes 90s.
Because I feel like that would have been right up our alley.
Yeah, see?
Oh.
This is from the 90s.
Don't look up. Alien Invasion Saturday Blast. 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Wow.
I remember it.
It's funnier in live action.
Things were better. We were better. We were a more respectable country back then.
In the 90s? Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a side quest.
Now you know. Now you know.
Thank you for that.
Afuera!
That was the first thing I thought when I saw him. Oh, what is the president of Argentina doing in this film?
President Milei. He's in the middle of it. That's why he's so traumatized.
Yeah, well.
But he kept his figure after all these years.
He looks good.
Yeah, he kept his figure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. All right, let's see. Jay Britt says, it's great to see the dynamic duo back together. Frank and Jeeves.
Oh,
Happy Thursday, Stove and all you wonderful Franklies out there. Road Trip says, pants off and double mask. Yeah, pants off, double mask. Richard, let's see, Zach says, entering to win. Love you, bro. Well, thank you, Zach. I hope you get it. I hope you all get it. That's the real
get what?
Problem for me. For the basket.
You should give away killer tomatoes at some point.
You know, I'm going to have to get them now. Because now people will know, they'll get the reference.
Yeah.
Richard Colored says, dude, I want the shirt and I don't see it on their website. You're talking about Nephilim Death Squad? Well, I don't know where it. David gave this to me when he came to the Jamboree.
Oh yeah. He
gave it to me. He said, "Here, this is for you." And I was, "Oh wow, thank you." So this is the first time I'm wearing it. Actually, let's see. Jay's back, says Shotzi. KD33 says, "Hey Frank, catching up on yesterday's episode. Remind me to never owe Rich Barris money." Oh, I know. Stop. Stop you. All right, over on Rumble, let's see what's going on over there. Let's see. First one up is from Eve's Ring 67 says, "Love you, Frank and Franklies. Now give me that basket." You got it. Working it up now. Haywood says, "If or when ain't my homie Comey is found guilty, should every case he ever touched be reconsidered or reversed?" Well, I don't know if there's ever a precedent for that, but I don't know if there's precedent for that. And I would have to imagine if there is, then we would have to see what exactly these charges are, what the charges are for this in particular, and if it would even warrant that kind of a retroactive sweep.
Could cause an avalanche of appeals, though.
Well, it's the same question in effect onto a slightly smaller scale. You know, FBI director, president of the United States, where they say, you know, if it's found out that a president was elected or installed illegally, or if there was some nullifying aspect to their presidency, is everything that they put their pen to then null and void.
Right.
You know, that's a whole lot of, for some people, that's a whole lot of legislation. It's a whole lot of executive policy and everything else that is just rescinded all at once.
Yeah.
And you saw Trump put up all these, like there's all of these photos of the presidents in that hallway, and Biden's place was an auto pen.
Dude, I can't believe he did it.
You know what? I'm fine. Listen, the world is so messed up. Just give me the little stupid petty things like that.
I tell you something. Look, it is. Somebody described it as like borderline petty, but if anybody deserves to be a little bit petty given what they put him through, it's like, I was like, it's petty, but I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, he was such a disaster.
Sarah Blazik says, great show. There is so much we need to learn and relearn, especially the power of the mind. I know.
Man,
yeah, well, a lot of what he was doing is the mind. That's why I wanted to know more about that connection, especially with the breath. Rob would have loved this one.
Yeah.
Jay Semo says, I'm still catching up on the shows that I missed. All great shows. They've been fantastic. I've had a lot of fun with them. They've been great. Colette Karma says, great conversations tonight. I just love Jefe Gulinello.
Are these all beginning with a J?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know Jeeves. Oh, I guess yeah. I remember Ask Jeeves. Yeah.
J-E-E. You remember that was a search engine.
Oh, absolutely.
Ask Jeeves.
That was one of the first ones. It was like before Google took over everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves.
There was Jeeves. Do people still use Bing?
I mean, it's like default on a lot of things. I never use it, but it always wants to be used.
Poor Bing. Bing's like, whatever you need, I'll do for you.
I mean, yeah, you should give us a lot more because no one's using you, buddy.
Hold on, let's get real quick. Cave Toad says, Frank, I better see Nephilim Death Squad wearing a Frankly shirt on their show.
Oh, that's a good
well,
point.
I'm going to have to send one out to them. Like I said, David threw this my way at the Jamboree.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they would.
Unsuspecting gift giver.
If I know anybody that ever gets booked on a huge show, I'm going to say, listen, what do I got to do to have you wear my something?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I don't have anything with a website on it, but just something where, I don't know, the founding Frankly that has the joint in its mouth.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great to see somebody wear that on Rogan or something. Like, oh, look, I was on the Rogan show. That's it.
True.
It's probably the closest I'll ever get. Safety Net says, gratitude for all that you do, Frank. One love, Lynn. Safety Net again. I hate typos, so I repeat, gratitude. Cave Toad says, after the hours the other day, I became obsessed with needing a chili dog. Does Jay hate me now? How disappointed is he? It was Vienna at least, but oh so good.
No. You know me. Come on. I've had a chili dog before. I mean, now I would just have the chili and the dog.
Yeah.
And I just leave the bun.
What do you think about the hot dog though? Especially when it comes to deli meats. Like Lauren doesn't like. She'd rather give Aurora a can of skipjack tuna.
Yeah.
Than go to she's always been apprehensive about going and getting sliced deli meats for her because she thinks about nitrates and stuff like that. What's your opinion on deli meats?
I mean, it really depends. The quality can vary, but I mean, like in terms of something like a hot dog, you can now get 100% beef hot dogs. Like I think it's Teton Waters Ranch I had found years ago, or you can actually get them from the Amish farm. They make hot dogs. So, if you want to do it right, you can still, you can do it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Amethyst Cat says, another great show. Happy Thursday, Frank and Jebediah. Delona says, please read my email. I have a terrible cold today. Oh, well, I don't think I should. I don't think I'm going to have time to read this. I think I remember Delona sending me something about her going through some kind of postural therapy and whatever, and having major turnarounds in health, and it all had to do just with that.
Wow.
But I'll take a look. Oh yeah, it was hearing loss.
Huh.
Hearing loss. Essentially, she said that she had hearing loss in her left ear and vertigo after having vertigo 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But they had told her that, doctors had told her that it was probably going to be Meniere's disease.
Okay.
They said that she would eventually be deaf in the left ear, and the right ear would probably do the same after a while. And then they, what is this? There's a lot in here. I started putting things together. I was hitting the jaw on the left side with a basketball freshman year of high school. There's your trauma.
Yeah.
I couldn't open my mouth more than a half an inch. When I turned 21, I had Bell's palsy on my left side. All my migraines were on my left side as well. I started searching for my symptoms and found people with the same symptoms getting special TMJ treatment.
Yeah.
I asked my ENT what he thought. He said that it was an ear problem, not a neck-jaw problem. I got the last shot and never went back.
So even an ENT doesn't think the ear and the jaw have any relationships to each other?
They're right next to each other.
Wild.
Found a TMJ doctor and started getting specialized treatment. She noticed that my shoulder was always hitched up and I stood like one leg is shorter than the other. I had been having pain in my right hip for a couple of years from repeated injuries, so I also lifted my hair and showed her how my neck was going off to the right, and I had lost 2 inches in height. She told me that if I didn't get the rest of me straightened out, fixing my jaw would be a temporary fix.
Yeah.
I went to my primary care doctor and discussed everything with him. He recommended me going to a postural therapist. Between the TMJ doctor, postural therapist, and getting great massages, I have gained 2 inches of height back. My hearing is coming back. My hip is feeling better. And I'm told that this is just the beginning of everything. I'm 51 years old and feeling better than ever. And so there you go. She was essentially told she was going to be deaf.
It's unbelievable. And what's up with all these people gaining height? What do you think? I mean, I got to get in on this. Like a Heightus Maximus was his.
I never hit 6 feet.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Please.
I've been like 5'11" for
stop.
forever. I don't know when I'm going to hit 6 feet.
I'm hanging out with Tom Cruise down here. Can I get a little love?
How tall are you?
5'7".
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're about an inch taller than Lauren.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many inches. I mean, I know that I'm taller than Lauren. I don't know how much.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Okay, so listen, I want to talk about some other stuff real quick. First of all, Sentinel, my favorite cult film is Better Off Dead.
Oh.
Blockbuster banned it since it made light of teen suicide.
Whoa.
Especially loved the paperboy demanding his $2 from Lane.
Oh, yeah, that's classic.
Where's my $2?
I want my $2.
Stallone said, okay. Well, so that's the first half.
Okay.
We're talking a little bit now, Tylenol. You saw what happened with Tylenol this week.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that you did something on this years ago. So again, kind of twiddling your thumbs and waiting for people to. What do you think? Because it's like most things, nobody really is really diving into the materials there, because you have Donald Trump and RFK on one side, and then you have media neighborhoods and a whole bunch of people who don't care about anything other than reacting to stimuli that is political. So what should be said about this?
I mean, this is not, I think the biggest thing is that this is not new research. So I tend to divide, COVID was an interesting time for a lot of reasons. I tend to divide research now. You know how in religious terms you've got BC and you've got AD. I tend to look at research as BC, which is before COVID, because it was done better, it was done differently, and it was done without as much of a slant. I'm not going to draw that line so, dramatically, but all the research that I have and anything that I brought today was like, we're talking 2005. You hear a lot about acetaminophen, which is Tylenol is the brand name, depleting something called glutathione. So you'll hear a lot about that. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. And we've got a ton of research on that, which actually increases potentially the risk of things like asthma. So glutathione depletion can cause oxidative stress. Because remember, your glutathione is running around helping to clean things up for the body, just to keep it really simple for people. But this other paper from 2015 actually showed an association between maternal use of acetaminophen during pregnancy and autism with hyperkinetic symptoms. So again, this stuff has been done for years. There have been connections. And these are just two papers that I pulled. I wrote about this in October of 2020. So that's 5 years ago. And, like 300 people. The irony is back then I had less than half the followers I have now. Over 300 people liked it. I start writing about stuff like this today and 25 people are lucky to see it. So there's definitely some, futzing around going on when it comes to social media. But the point is, none of this stuff is new. And this impacts us on a biochemical level. And what I find fascinating, Frank, as soon as I saw the press conference, the first thing I did just as an experiment, I immediately went to Twitter, X, because I knew what was going to happen. I said, I bet there's going to be a whole bunch of physicians immediately saying, oh, there's no connection here. Sure enough, right in my feed popped in all these loser physicians, and that's exactly what they are. Because you can't tell me that you digested all of the information that was presented in a report, or you looked at all the research that's been done, and in 5 minutes you were able to determine that all of this is nonsense. Clearly I know, because I could sit here and I have links to papers all day long that this research had been done, at least raising the question.
Prior to Trump even being president.
Absolutely.
The first time.
Yes. So this is just absolute insanity. It's politicizing health science yet again, which is what we did during COVID. It's crazy because then you see what the next step in the evolution of crazy was a whole bunch of pregnant women downing Tylenol on TikTok as if it's some kind of righteous cause that they have.
I hate, I mean, listen,
I don't even know where to begin with that. I mean, that's a whole other level of mental illness.
This whole nonchalant bad bitch rebel. Like look, I'm a fuck. Like the thought that I'm a rebel, and I'm going to do this even though I'm swollen with child is incredible. Like I said last night, the kid is not even out of the womb yet, and they're still paying for the hubris of the mother.
Frank, when I was trained, I remember in some of my prenatal medicine and nutrition courses, I was warned not only of the effects of excess vitamin A, but honey, raw honey, for a child who's less than 12 months. I mean, all the things that were drilled into my head that I had to be careful of. Can you imagine? But no. Something like Tylenol or an experimental gene therapy, totally fine. Don't even think twice about it, right? And that's all we're saying. I come on here all the time and tell you, I don't know everything. I have a huge piece of my personality that is nothing but humility. When I left school, what I learned more was what I didn't know because of how much I learned in school. I was like, I think about who I was when I went in and who I am when I'm coming out, certainly with a lot more knowledge. But when I went in, I thought I knew a lot. So clearly, that progress is never ending. But what shocked me, and shouldn't shock me, is these doctors immediately upon this press conference just running their battle stations. There's no evidence for this. RFK is anti-science. So science is pumping children and pregnant mothers full of drugs at every turn, because that always seems to be the answer. There's no amount of drugs and no amount of inoculations that are dangerous. Of course, they're always safe and effective. And being prudent and asking questions and actually asking for the scientific method to be done, that's now anti-science. That's the inverted world we live in. So that's just to set the stage. Let me just read you one thing that's a little bit technical, but I told you before, I love to give your audience something to chew on. So you'll hear a lot about glutathione. Glutathione is, again, the master antioxidant in the body. It's 3 amino acids, which is why protein is very important in the diet. It's made up of 3 amino acids. The body synthesizes it. But of course, if the insults coming into the body, the environmental toxin, whatever it is, if that outpaces the body's ability to handle it, you have some consequences. So this is going to get a little bit technical, but I just want to show you a little bit about why I think we need to study this. And this isn't even my writing. This is the writing of Chris Masterjohn, who's a PhD in nutrition. So I have a master's degree in nutrition. He has a PhD in nutrition. So he says cellular glutathione concentrations decline by over 90% during acetaminophen toxicity. Once glutathione concentrations decline below a critical level, there's a product called NAPQ that begins to covalently bind to at least 22 different proteins. So this is in the process of detoxifying something, the liver has to go through 2 phases. Sometimes, in order to detoxify something, it actually, ironically, makes it more toxic temporarily. But there are phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification processes. Acetaminophen is one of those that can become more toxic. A metabolite called NAPQ can become more toxic during its detoxification process. So let me just read you a little bit more. Glutathione depletion within the mitochondria now can activate something called the mitochondrial membrane permeability transition pore. I know it's a lot of stuff. But basically, this causes a cascade that results in apoptosis, which is cell death. So the reason that we are wondering about whether or not Tylenol, no one is saying Tylenol causes autism, period, end of story. What we're saying is, if you are already compromised in the glutathione department, maybe you have a genetic predisposition to some of the enzymes that help recycle glutathione. Maybe you've got that downregulated for whatever reason, right? So you're just susceptible. You don't make as much glutathione. Your toxicity level, the threshold is going to be a lot lower for you to become toxic. It's just very simple. You just don't generate enough glutathione. Mm-hmm. If you're on a low protein diet, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, you may be very low in the 3 amino acids that make up glutathione. So your raw material shortage is there, right? So you can see how there are a variety of different factors that could cause glutathione to be depleted, which could make you then susceptible to something like acetaminophen toxicity, which then, combined with this insane inoculation schedule and a whole bunch of other potential environmental insults, could lead to the inevitability of oxidative stress, things happening in the brain that could lead to what we call the symptoms of autism. And all we're saying is, can we please, for the love of God, just study this? And the reason that some people will say, my mom took Tylenol and I'm fine. Yes, because of all the things I just said. It's never one thing. It's called the allostatic load. Once we have crossed that threshold, all bets are off. And the last thing he says is, while acetaminophen may be clinically safe from the perspective of hepatotoxicity, so liver toxicity, that does not mean that nothing bad is happening biochemically. Thus, it is entirely plausible and well worthy of investigation whether taxing the glutathione pool contributes to things like asthma, autism, or any other such problems. So it is perfectly reasonable, given all the literature we have from years and years and years ago. I found stuff from pre-2000 that we knew this was problematic. And all we're saying is, hey, maybe it's time we actually study this. And I give President Trump and I give Secretary Kennedy so much credit for standing up, because you knew exactly what was going to happen when they did that. And exactly what we thought was going to happen happened. A bunch of crazy people on TikTok downing Tylenol, and a bunch of doctors on social media saying immediately, this is ridiculous. There's no such link. Biochemically, it is absolutely plausible. Let's study it, is all we're saying.
No, listen, there's no telling. Obviously, there is just a rule. There is a opposition rule. You just got to be on the opposite side of everything. Right. And so that's just, there is that rule. But the other thing there too is that there's an obvious wall, a front that's been put up here to make sure that people really do not have any kind of, I don't know, they don't have any real change. There's not anything that is reconsidered. Everything is kept in place. That if you get a fever, you start downing ibuprofen and acetaminophen. And you know what? If I have a really, really shitty fever during the day, I usually just let it roll. I try to go to sleep. But if I have a really bad night, I'll still pop an Advil or two. You know, I at that point, whatever. Because when I get a fever, I accept that I'm dying, and I just let death wash over me.
Come take me.
I just let death. I'm already resigned to dying. I'm already resigned to dying. So what the hell does the Advil even mean? So that's
it's a good thing you're not too dramatic.
That's just my point. But here, take a look at this. Look at this. I put this up on the screen the other night. Here's from CNN. Headline: What pregnant people? What pregnant people?
We're clearly following the science in the headline.
Yes, exactly. What pregnant people should know about acetaminophen. Now, Jay,
Lord.
I don't care what is even in the article after I read the headline, and just reminding myself. A lot of the people at CNN, if they read an article, they wouldn't go as far as just throwing this whatchamacallit, this virtue signaling nonsense out into the ether like Deirdre Phillips did. Deirdre McPhillips had to put out there, pregnant people. She wanted to let you know just how metropolitan cool she was. I don't care what are in these articles, what all the opposition says, because these are the pregnant people clan. There's nothing of value here. I cannot trust this author's perspective on anything. I don't care if the rest of the article was one sentence, and that sentence was that the sky is blue. I don't care.
There's an ulterior motive.
No, there's no. This is of no value to me.
I agree, man. I agree. You can't. In this case, in cases like this,
yes,
you actually can judge a book by its cover, or you can judge an article by its title. In some ways, don't you feel lucky that we're able to because we have our attention being pulled in so many different directions that it's a lot easier now, I believe, and I've said this on the show a bunch of times, that COVID was one of those things that made it very easy to identify things that weren't worth your time anymore. Like, for instance, what we just watched about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's child. Anytime I see somebody with trying to talk through a mask in 2025, I know that I don't really need to listen to them. Sadly, they need help. So, these are just like identifiable properties that just make life a little bit easier and more efficient for us.
Well, here's what Donald Trump said, what President Trump had said over here. This is a 32-second clip where he just essentially said, with Tylenol, don't take it.
He must have said it 5 times.
I know.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils.
I say get in touch with Jane Barlow.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, yeah. And of course, again, remember, this is not the purview of President Trump, right?
Right.
The poor guy is trying to, but this reminds me, Frank, I think I might have sent this to you in a voice note. This is eerily similar to when he was talking about hydroxychloroquine, almost like he wants to tell us more that he knows. Obviously, he knows a lot of things we don't know, but he was so adamant. It's like, I mean, I know a ton about Tylenol. And by the way, I mentioned this to Jen, Nurse Jenny. She said she would rather try to bring somebody back from fentanyl overdose in the ER than Tylenol overdose. She actually said those words to me. She said, it is so dangerous to the liver. I couldn't believe it. And so what do you administer?
This even those so-called clean acetaminophen like Genexa. We have Genexa at home instead of Tylenol in the case of like a high fever.
I mean, if it's acetaminophen,
yeah, that's just.
Yeah,
I don't know what they said. It's clean. I don't know what it's missing versus.
Take a look at that. I'm not familiar.
Genexa. That's what we had.
Acetaminophen is also a background drug in a lot of other drugs too, which is also very dangerous. But what they administer, because remember what I told you. So now it's depleting glutathione. So what do they administer as an antidote? Now they don't do it like you're not popping a pill of this like we do in supplement form. They're IV injecting you with high doses of NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is what? A precursor to glutathione. So depending on how much somebody took and the temporal relationship between the overdose and the administration of the antidote, you could potentially save somebody's life. But Jen, she was telling me, she's like, it is by far in an ER, like the worst thing to try to rescue somebody from. So you're talking about Tylenol. When I grew up, I mean, everyone thought Tylenol might as well have been like Pez, right? It's like, it's no big deal. It's just Tylenol. But once I started to dig into the literature, I was like, wow, we've known about this for decades, but you aren't even allowed to speak about it. So I want the audience to understand this kind of stuff. It's really important. Nothing is benign. Anybody that tells you anything is 100% safe and effective and nothing has a downside, like they want you to believe about certain things, you're not listening to a credible source. And I don't know, when I was listening to President Trump say that, I was like, man, I feel like he knows something that he's just not able to say.
Well,
and it made me remember hydroxychloroquine, and he was damn right about that at the beginning of this whole mess.
Absolutely was, but and maybe at another time soon we can talk about the other half of what was coming out this past week because they really went in on the childhood inoculation schedule big time. But we don't have time for that tonight. I do want to know what Molly thinks about Tylenol. Molly, when was the last time you popped a Tylenol? Did you do it in rebellion this past week like so many others?
Everything just makes me think of the Darwin Awards books, and I don't understand why someone has not started a Darwin Awards podcast because it's the absolute perfect time to do it.
They probably have.
At some point, you just have to accept that people are making their own decisions and they're going to be foolish and there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
Amen.
And it is unfortunate. Like, I made poor decisions in the past. I thought being vegan was right. I thought no fat was right, but I like to learn. So the moment I got better information, I made better choices, and I still do the same thing. But that's because I'm personally invested in feeling good and understanding what feeling good means and what I can do to feel good. So I'm not waiting for a TikToker or a president or a doctor to tell me. I will hear something sexy about a molecule or a thing, and then I go do my own research and I make a decision where if insurance was different, I would sign a piece of paper that says I'm taking full responsibility for taking this substance instead of yours.
Yeah.
We're not offered that option. So we have people who are indoctrinated into a million different ideologies, and it's not just the gender ideology. It's various religions. And when I think of religion, I think that people believing what their doctor has to say without having any questions is a religiosity, right? And so whether it's, you've got to have a padded shoe instead of, running barefoot, or you've got to take X pharmaceutical instead of checking in with yourself and going for a run and getting some sunshine and taking your vitamins. To me, all of this craziness comes down to a complete lack of desire to own one's choices in life.
Yeah.
Whether it is that Tylenol, like, I don't know I know what I did to my neck. I was stupid at the gym. So no Tylenol, but I did take an ibuprofen for the first time in like 2 years because my neck won't move. So Jay, you'll love this. I have curcumin, SAMe, glutathione, N-acetylcysteine, and milk thistle.
Hey.
Right over here to make sure my body can contend with that, right?
Supporting your liver health.
Yeah. So it's like, if I have whiskey, I have SAMe. Like, I know when I'm choosing a poison, and I consider ibuprofen and Tylenol, I consider them poisons that you choose to use as needed, very rarely. And if you're smart, you're going to take something to counteract the potential negative.
Right.
So, I don't like to consume sugar and carbohydrates because I know their potential detriment. But when and if I do, I've got berberine and I've got my ketones on board the next morning if I go to the gym, and I've got X, Y, and Z. So you just said it. This idea, there's no free lunch, right? So this idea of give me the information, let me make a choice in full understanding, knowing that I may not know my genetics, but that X, Y, or Z may make me feel happy or pain relief or this or that, and understand it for what it is. It is a synthetic or natural substance that's going to give me the thing I want and a bunch of other shit I don't.
Yeah.
Why I don't do it all the time. The shit that I take all the time, I'm really confident I'm safe. I will take CoQ10 3 times a day, 100 milligrams forever. I've done it for 20 years. There's certain things I'm incredibly comfortable doing on the regular, and there's other things that are like the break the glass toolbox.
Yeah.
Me, Tylenol and ibuprofen are break the glass toolbox. They are not something to be grabbed like candy.
It's fast food.
And because you understand the human body and how to mitigate the downsides, I'm a little bit stubborn. I had kidney stones and I refused to take anything. So I just walked around like the Walking Dead. But I could have, and had I decided to do that, I would have taken those same mitigation strategies. And that's the power, Molly, of, as you said, owning your health and you are smart enough to learn this stuff. You don't have to know it at some deep level where it's, you can recite the Krebs cycle intermediates in your sleep.
This is what I wish people understood. I went backwards. I understood CoQ10 before I really understood the mitochondria.
Yeah.
I understood alpha lipoic acid before I understood its connection or potential connection to CoQ10 and PQQ and mitochondria and ATP and coenzyme A and all the rest, right?
Yeah.
All you need to do, I became interested in this because it started with a thing that didn't feel right. So let's start there, right? So it's okay to work backwards. Sure. Maybe your thing is that you were diagnosed with fibromyalgia 30 freaking years ago, and fibromyalgia is like mental illness. It exists, but what the hell is it?
Right.
So it's real. It's absolutely real, but it's a real piece of terminology that is given to individuals because they didn't understand exactly why you ended up the place of feeling X, Y, and Z. So maybe your entry point into understanding mitochondria comes from us now understanding that fibromyalgia is most likely, as is chronic fatigue syndrome, a disease of mitochondrial function.
Yeah.
So I hope and wish for people, not that they have something bad in their lives, but something's going to happen to all of us or someone we love. Your starting point can be as simple as, why did my 18-year-old brother snap his Achilles tendon? How does that happen to a child? Okay, so maybe you start understanding what's necessary for healthy tendons and the genetics involved in tendons and the hormones involved in tendons. Your starting point can be anything. Yeah. And then you work backwards to understanding the biochemistry. The whole realm of doctors and the educated people, the people with the degrees, they've got all this information that's not attached to something personal. So then how do you attach it to something personal when you have a patient? Right? It's like, no, I learned this was in the books, this is what you do, this is what I was taught, therefore here's the drug based on what I was taught.
And also the time, the face time that physicians have on average with patients these days, there's no room for real personalized investigation as well. I'm sure some people they have that relationship, and that's great. But on average, we know that the visit times are plummeting, and it's one size fits all for everything. And to your point from before, you say when people make decisions, you got to let people make decisions. What I think what's at the baseline of what we're talking about tonight is how many decisions are people actually making? It seems like it's just all autopilot. It's not really decisions. Correct. It's defaults.
Yeah.
Correct. But that is the default mode. I used to fight against this personally because I didn't want to believe it, because I know where I came from and I know what I was able to get through and build. And I wanted to believe that was a core trait in all humans. I don't know that I believe that anymore. I don't know that I believe that anymore. I think that people are too tribal. I'm probably not tribal enough. Being tribal is rooted in genetics. I don't require much. I'm not worried about getting ostracized. I don't have a family that I'm worried about hating me. I did my own thing. Love me or leave me. I'm good. I think a lot of people are so afraid to be removed from the tribe of their religion, the tribe of the love and money of the family that helped them get the education and helps take care of their kids and helps do this and helps do that. I don't have any of that. So I kind of, my brother and I talk about it a lot. We ended up with ultimate freedom, but when we were younger, it felt like we missed out. Like there's not the big family anymore. That all went away. There was a family business. Everything was a mess. Everybody scattered. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, woe is me. I didn't get X, Y, and Z. Then you realize, oh shit, I didn't get X, Y, and Z. My life is 100% mine. I'm not worried about what anyone has to say, do, or think about my decisions, because no one's paying for it and no one gets to say anything about it. What I see is people are afraid. I have a handful of friends from a long time ago who come from really tight East Coast families. So at least in my experience, coming from way over on the West Coast in the woods, hippie parents, no culture. My friends over on the East Coast, we've got Catholicism. We're nurses. We are in the military. We are policemen. You get married when you're 22. You do it in the church. You do everything this way. And it kind of that convention can be so wonderful, but convention can also be stifling and disallow for people to do the exploration personally that's necessary to own their own existence. And I find the more tribal someone is, the less likely they are to make their own decisions about a million different things. You grow up in a family where you get insurance as soon as you can, because otherwise you're screwed. You're going to listen to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So to me, we are overly tribal. And then this is a whole other conversation. I think in the absence of religion and family, people have clearly become tribal about other crazy shit.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I had a friend of mine, late great friend of mine, Liam Sheff. I had this conversation with him many years ago at this point before he died. And he said that about that. He said, you can always tell whenever something gets to a religious status. And he was talking at that time mainly about climate change and things like that. He said, when you can tell when you're not dealing with an an issue that can be debated and fine-tuned and brought to, some kind of level of homeostasis, and it's just purely religion.
Pure emotion.
Yeah.
And it's weird because emotion is and can be a beautiful thing, but emotion is just neurochemistry. And if your neurochemistry is off because your hormones are off and you don't have family and you don't have religion and you no longer have culture and you no longer have country, we're screwed. Because we're seeing right now all of these insane ideologies and factions and people fighting for things that they have no knowledge of the countries or the religions or the regions that they're wanting to go out and fight for. And to me, I may be a crazy person. To me, I always come back to Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, Virtues of Selfishness. If you cannot take care of yourself first selfishly, you, Frank, cannot help your wife. You cannot help your daughter. You cannot be there for your brother or your community. If you do not, Jordan Peterson, you don't clean your room first, you are not in a position to help someone else get their life together. And all of these people out there being screaming memes about X, Y, and Z, the flavor of the month. I was just thinking about when I was in my late teens, I didn't even know what. I came from the woods. I didn't even know what Tibet was or where it was, but there were free Tibet stickers everywhere, right? now it's Ukraine, or it's this, or it's that. There's always some new flavor. And that is amazing. Go ahead, be empathetic. Don't let it go too far. But is your brain in order?
Yeah.
Do you know who you are? Are you able to pay your rent? Are you working hard? You don't get to go out there and offer up assistance to other living beings if your shit's not in order. And that is the Virtue of Selfishness, which is a really tiny, wonderful book I think everyone should read.
Hey, you know what? You want to microcosm macro. It's the same thing that you're talking about individuals, which obviously is the best that we can do to actually change the world is try to find a way to inspire individuals. But that nations act this way, especially when it comes to, you talk about, well, what are we giving to the rest of the world? We should be giving nothing to the rest of the world. Look at how bad things are here at home. If I had a magic wand, forget
Clean
about
your
it.
room first.
I know. Well, listen, before we're pulling you, we're going to pull you over with us into extra innings. No, I just wanted to use these last 5 minutes real quick to watch something with you because it has to do with this segment on the Rogan podcast with Brigham Butler. Especially because so many more people from this audience, including myself, have been using the BPC 157 from you. Regularly, and the only thing I had to look after was what was going on with my left shoulder, and between that's gone. And of course, there's therapy that I went in through it as well.
Yeah.
But my wife's been using it for a lot of gut repair. That's incredible so far, and people in the audience are going nuts for it. And now the story and the conversation about peptides is getting bigger and bigger. And just like with Tylenol, where something positive is said about it, something negative must be said if out of law. And there is definitely a growing level of not panic, but uncomfortability about how people are warming to the potential of what peptides can do in the future. But take a listen to this because I want to be able to at least set the tone for after hours. Here we go.
Over 150 peptides that Big Pharma is attempting to patent right now because the future of medicine is peptides. And here's why. We aren't compounding a drug. We're taking something found naturally in nature, a signaling cell found in your body, just like stem cells, just like amnion, just like all of these crucial building blocks to our health and longevity that are deficient in our foods, deficient in our diet, deficient in our lifestyle. We don't get enough sun. We have too much screen time. We're inactive, and all of that shit's tanking in our bodies. Shocker, right? And as we age, there's a precipitous decline in peptides, in building blocks. One example, GHK, copper peptide. We know we have roughly 30 to 40% of the level of GHK in our bloodstream in our 40s that we had in our teens. Why is that important? It's an important signaling cell that tells your body that you're young. Your cells are young, your skin's elastic, heal this injury, heal this wound, reduce this inflammation, right? It's safe, it's benign, it's found in nature. We're synthesizing that. That's what peptides are. And Big Pharma got beat to the punch by compounding pharmacies. And compounding pharmacies have an array of peptides in their tool belt. And the war on peptides has gone beyond the GLP-1s. And this is what I wanted to explain. So it's very complicated. I got to make sure I nail this right because it's important for President Trump to understand this. There are
well. I don't see. Riff on this for a couple of minutes. Let's just go until 9:05 so we don't leave everybody hanging too much. But I definitely want to bring this into extra innings because, of course, 2 hours went by in a flash. Go ahead. Start with you, Molly.
It's, to me, peptides are no different than they're very different, but the whole realm of tools that actually work that pharma would like to be able to patent, to get their hands on, to get the money. And we've seen it in COVID. We saw it with NAC. We see that battle with NMN right now. These are tools that we all currently have access to, but it's not easy to get. And I don't like the emotional scariness that certain individuals make people feel around peptides, because it sounds like it is either for fancy people, expensive people, or risky people, people who take risks. And to me, it's like, okay, Tylenol and antidepressants are just fine for pregnancy, but holy shit, don't touch peptide. Yeah. Don't take vitamin A, don't take vitamin D. Absolutely don't take a supplemental form of choline, even though your baby's brain cannot develop without it, but you're fine taking our pharmaceutical aids, right? So what drives me nuts is that these should not feel, I can't tell you how many people I meet who the only thing that they know about peptides is the GLP-1s, which to me, I don't even put them in the class of what we're talking about with peptides. Yeah. They are a peptide. The beauty of them is that the word peptide is becoming mainstream, but people think of it kind of like, it's like they think people are doing gene therapy in their house when they're injecting peptides or taking peptides orally. And they make them sound too fancy and scary and like they could be bad for you. And that is not the truth. And then, as Brigham talks about quite a bit, they try to say, well, compounding pharmacies aren't safe. When you look at the safety and the cleanliness of big pharma, when the FDA goes in or doesn't go in to see what's happening, like he famously talks about, there was a woman who was barefoot. There was a place that had cats in it. These are big pharma facilities that are supposed to be better than your local down the road compounding pharmacy. Someone who you walk in and say, hey, I'm here to get my compounded X, Y, or Z, and they know you. Yeah. And so the fear around these things pisses me off because, as he very clearly and wonderfully stated, this is not a new drug. This is something already in the body. It's something the body's already making. And just like everything else, as we age and the record gets scratched, we don't make these things as well as we used to. So we're supplementing these special chains of amino acids to get our body back to a place where we can, heal like Wolverine is kind of heal like you're 10. You fall down, you go running the next day, you're not as messed up as you are when you fall down when you're 40. Yeah. The copper peptides. I love internal and topical copper peptides. Think of it this way. And David Sinclair talks about this. As we age, the communication between the various systems in our body, it's like you're losing a phone call. So David Sinclair talks about it kind of like a CD loses information over time. So like as we age, if you will, as your DNA replicates as you get older, you lose information the older you get. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to have good copies of DNA continually being replicated as opposed to decrepit copies, because that's when, skin cells don't communicate as well as they used to. So your skin cells start to break down and we start to see more wrinkles, or your tendons, or your joints, or your ligaments, or your organs. And peptides are just a tool that your body already makes, but your body doesn't make them so good as you get older. And all we want to do is put them back in there. Yeah. But instead, it's the big new scary thing, right? It's the big new scary thing. And it wouldn't be scary if pharma could make it and do their fancy ads and give you all of their warnings and put it behind the paywall of insurance. And to me, you know, I've never had insurance. I only do doctors when I want to. I buy blood tests when I want them. But watching what my man goes through is fucking insane. I'm sorry. Watching someone you love go through the system is insane. No one should have to go through that.
And that's the VA, right?
That's all. It's the VA, it's the normal doctors, it's anybody. They're either scared, or they're either scared legally, or they actually believe that these things are bad, until they change their minds, and then they offer them to you and charge you more money for them.
Yeah.
But being healthy should not be put behind a paywall and a legal wall and a pharma wall and a doctor wall. There's a place for all of that. But we're entering a new world. In 20 years, it's kind of like, you know, you hear people talk about things aren't going to change until the old guard dies. There's a bunch of old guards that need to die. And there will be more and more oddballs like myself who go online and find a place to buy their blood test, and they check their blood, and then they get some peptides and some supplements and do an experiment and go do some more blood, and all of it's getting cheaper and cheaper. Yeah. And then people can make their own damn decisions. They can make their own decisions. But we're in this world where the things that make us vital into our later years are positioned in a way where you should be fearful of them.
That's it.
The shit over here that'll kill you quicker, that's no problem. Insurance will cover part of that for you.
All day.
As long as you have insurance.
Okay, well let's see. No, that's what I wanted. And Jay has been champing at the bit over here. I know that you probably want to say some stuff, and let's just do it on the other side. But let me just say this first. We have a couple of super chats. First of all, you weren't going to get away from this one, Molly, because I have to wish you a happy birthday along with Jay.
I forgot.
Happy birthday.
You forgot. Happy birthday.
And people in the chat room didn't forget either, because I have a couple birthday wishes here. One is, let me see here. Well, first of all, Paul says, hey, Frank, thanks for another incredible week of shows. Got your best guests of the week on right now. And then ST says, happy birthday, Molly. Much love to Frank, Julio, and Molly, and all the Franklies. Frogs in the Pot, who's from Maine, says, thank you, Frank, Jay, and Molly, for all you do. Love from Maine. Andrea Dalton says, great show. The Jamboree vibes continue. Yes, good vibes. You know, Molly, before we take off, yes, happy birthday to you. And for everybody who is going to be listening to this episode over the course of the weekend, KetoBrainz.com and also Mind Thy Mitochondria. Both those links are in the description of this episode. They can use Frankly25 for 25% off of the BPC 157 Wolverine peptide.
And other peptides, we just put up a mitochondrial peptide product, a thyroid peptide product, and a cerebral peptide product that was recently spoken about for people with TBI and fighters. So we've got some new peptide combos up that are really interesting.
And would people be able to contact you through either of those websites to ask questions if they're curious about things? Because, you know, there's limited information, but you blog a lot.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out on Instagram or any of them. So my brother, the other half of everything, he basically, if he gets questions from your folks for Mind and Mitochondria, he sends them to me. So I will get them. Also, really quickly, there's a few people waiting on a Phenibut blog. It is taking a long time because I think I need to be very careful about what I share about it, because it's very powerful, and I used it like 20 years ago in ways I would never recommend now, and it's really hard to get, and the laws have changed on it. So that blog is taking me a little longer than initially intended, because my 20 years ago self was using it in a way that I probably shouldn't have. So I want to make sure the info that I share in that blog is safe and correct and all that good stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, go check those out. The links are in the description below. Thank you to Badlands for hanging out with us and for syndicating us on this Thursday night. We are going to be doing some after hours, some extra innings on the other side of the end credits follow us over to pilled.net. If you're in a pinch, pilled.net is embedded on quitefrankly.tv. So go to either, press play. I'll be putting a link in the description. In the chat room. I'll be putting the link to that in the chat room right now, so be on the lookout for it. Molly, I'm just going to mute your microphone for a second and just stick with us. All right, Jay, thank you. Jay, you have to come back again soon, but let everybody know where to find your work and what's coming up for you now.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys always can find me on any of the social medias, Instagram, Perpetual Health CO, pretty much everywhere. A Rumble video just dropped right now, and we will be talking about this again next time. But for everybody who's interested in getting involved with myself and with Nurse Jenny, you can now go to the Health Reclamation Project website, which is healthreclamationproject.com. And if you use the code FALL45, FALL45, you can get in on the next round of memberships and you'll get it for a significant discount. So if you guys want to work with us, you can do that. We'll talk a lot more about it and what it actually entails, but go to that website, healthreclamationproject.com, use the code FALL45, and you can start working with us and get yourself in ship shape.
All right. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you guys for being with us. We will be back in a flash. I'll see you in extra innings.
Howdy, Badlanders. Looking for something new to grab from your friends at Badlands Media and Rise Attire? Summertime is here. We got you covered. All new tank tops for men and women, featuring new iterations of the Devolution design in black, red, white, and even blue and green digital camo. Sick. We got them for Psywar and Clown World too. How about these bad boys? Psywar, Clown World, and Devolution beach towels to help you spark up a conversation with your new best friend or future spouse at the pool. And by popular demand, we've got all new athletic women's leggings that'll have you red pilling all the ladies in your Pilates class, whether they like it or not. Too bad. This is Badlands, baby, and we're strapped. Get some and support the new media parallel economy as much as fucking possible at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our big...
I'll catch you on the flip side.